That it's all just a little bit of history repeating.
So we saw in our last video, under the influence of the Enlightenment thinkers, the people of France began to question the power of the monarchy more and more. Now, King Louis XVI had borrowed a lot of money to help the Americans defeat the British during the American Revolution. Unfortunately, this left France strapped for cash and they were running out of money fast. Louis XVI could borrow very little money from the banks, so the only source of income for himself and the government was taxes, which was paid exclusively by the Third Estate. Now, the Third Estate also had to pay a tithe, so that's 1/10 of a peasant's annual production of grain to the clergy. So another tax. Then on top of that tax, they also had to pay taxes on salt, on windows, and a head tax. A head tax is just a tax for being alive, along with many, many others. Now, things might have stayed as they were if it wasn't for an agricultural crisis. Poor harvests led to a rise in the price of bread. People could no longer afford bread or other goods, which resulted in factories closing and people losing their jobs. Now, the seigneurs or lords started stockpiling or hoarding their wheat and sold it at extremely high prices. This really upset people, and the Third Estate said that the rich were getting richer off the backs of peasants. Now, King Louis XVI was afraid that there might be a revolt. He thought about taxing the nobles, but the nobles said if he tried, they wouldn't pay it. So the king decided to call the Estates General, which was an assembly of representatives from all three estates. In the Third Estate, it was only the rich who could elect representatives. Now, these representatives from the Third Estate demanded an equal vote, and the other two estates agreed. The Third Estate proposed that the clergy and nobility pay taxes, but again, the clergy and nobility refused. So instead of trying to push tax reform or change taxes, the Third Estate chose to write a new constitution, a new law that would define the structure of government. And because of this, a clash between the estates was about to happen. When the king saw the trouble they were causing, he called for a recess and locked the Third Estate out of the meeting. They went into another room in the king's palace, which turned out to be a tennis court, and made an oath not to disband until they had a constitution. Now, fearing riots, the king ordered the other estates to work to draw up a new constitution. Now, the new constitution would put a limit on the power of the king and would bring an end to the absolute monarchy, where the king has all the power. Riots were imminent. They were going to happen in Paris, where people were essentially starving. To put down the riot over food, the king sent in the army, which the Third Estate saw as a threat. They thought they were coming to put down their revolution. As a result, the Third Estate stormed the prison called the Bastille to free all the prisoners, which really was only about 7 people, but really they went in there for weapons and armor. In the end, the king accepted the constitution. The Third Estate formed a national assembly which removed the power to make laws and judges from the king, and there was now a constitutional monarchy. On August 26, 1789, the National Assembly adopted the Declaration of the Rights of Man and the Citizen. This was created and inspired by the ideas of the English Enlightenment. Some of the most important principles stated in this declaration are still in use today in other democracies. Article 1 that says everybody is born free and should be free for life and have equal rights, or Article 2 that says freedom, property, and security should be protected and not have any interference from the monarch. Article 6 says every citizen should be allowed to take part in government either by voting or picking someone to represent them. Article 7 says you can't arrest somebody for no reason anymore. Article 10 said no one should be arrested because of their opinions or even their religious beliefs. And Article 11 said the idea of free speech and free opinions. Now, this all sounds well and good, but we have to remember that this declaration did not give women the right to vote or participate in politics, and slavery still continued until 1848. In the end, the French Revolution ended the three estates, got rid of privileges for the clergy, nobility, and seigneurs. People became citizens instead of subjects. The powers were separated. Men who worked and paid taxes could vote, and an absolute monarchy was brought to an end. But how did it all end? Well, on January 21st, Louis XVI was sentenced to death and executed. What followed was a series of different political systems. The Reign of Terror of the Jacobins, which left 40,000 people either executed or murdered, and eventually even an empire led by Napoleon Bonaparte. You remember him. He crowned himself as king to show that he was not chosen by God, but rather of the people. But in the 19th century, France chose to be a republic in which the three branches of government were separated and a leader would be elected. Well, I hope this video helps you guys out. I'll see you next time, and good luck studying.